as maybe a baseline plan, the species of the trees that are going to be planted. Community agreements, of course, this is the MOUs of the contracts also that are considered. You also have to look at the monitoring plan, which is how you look at the survival rate, the tree count, GIS, and whatnot. And then after that, the project description is drafted within a standard template, like we're discussing in the morning, Vera and the rest. And then the project is listed under international record-based standard. And then once that is complete, of course, now is the validation, which of course is conducted by an external party. And then once the validation is successful, after looking at all the parameters that I've just discussed, the project is registered. Thank you.
Silence. This is group 7. We were doing EV charging infrastructure deployment. So the data parameters, one will be region, we'll be focusing on Nairobi, the number of charging stations, what is the grid capacity, the charger capacity as well, the type of chargers, because we have different type of chargers, the commissioning date, / operation date, like when did it start being used, the chargers. For monitoring, we'll be using smart meters. We'll have smart meters installed on those charging stations, and also we'll be using data from the charging management system. So we'll be monitoring on the GPS tracking. This will help us to see which are the charging stations that are mostly used. We'll also check on the peak demand hours. The revenue, for the revenue, we'll check on the charger utilization, that is the percentage, as well as the kilowatt hours. We'll also check on the charging duration, as well as the operational status. When it comes to reporting, we'll report on the number of EV charging that is being used per station. We'll check on the off and the on-peak charging times, as well as the total capacity that has been installed. When it comes to verification, we'll have verifiers to verify on the meter calibration certificates, the KPLC utility, that is the tariff, as well as the GPS, the charging station usage, and also we'll do a site visits to just confirm on the charging stations. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the last group. So here that we all know how to start from baseline all the way to actually creating a full project and get to registry level. So I think thumbs up to everyone. Please, if you live here, everyone here can be a developer. Now, moving to the next session, where we're actually looking into the exploration. So yes, you've gone through 2 days. Yes, you've learned a lot. So from an individual level, there are 3 questions that my colleague asked. Maybe we need to delve into that for a bit, roughly a minute per person, or less than that. 50 seconds, 45 seconds. So again, make it as simple as possible. You cannot say it to your grandmother. Just it doesn't make sense, guys. So it will be very, very random. Yes, there's also an announcement, but it will be very random. Just raise your hand. Not, I am going to give you the microphone. So, quick announcement first.
Good evening, everyone. I almost thought the day would end without me touching the mic, but maybe none. Anyway, so our very quick announcements, as I communicated earlier, our marketing and communications person at First Carbon. One of my KPIs today, in talking about testimonial videos. How many will support me? I need around 5 people just to give it. I have the Naupea Mwakenya, you must turn into our list, okay? Yeah, so just 5 people. And they thought we've made friends. Colleen, Faye, the winning team, Martha, Susie, Karen, and I know all your names by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. The winning team. It's you, this side. I don't have a gentleman in the way.
No.
We'll make you, we'll help you. So, I need a gentleman.
Don't behind you.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, so it's 45 seconds. Yeah, keep it very short. Now, suffice to say that because I have teams, then see it's something that it's a kind of box, right? Public good. Once in a while, someone will go in here. So, yeah. Now, he's being natural. It's your son. Okay? Stop. Hang up, hang up.
So for me, I'm looking at banking sector. So I'm looking at the takeaway in my industry. For portfolio analysis, I think there's an opportunity whereby when we're doing the analysis of the customers that we are lending to, that you can always do the proper and the more intense environmental impact assessment before we onboard the client that we're going to lend the money to. Then immediate action plan. So probably meet with our ESG team and advise them on what we had and the data conversations that we've had during the period and see how we can forge our way forward. Then the exploration, normally we have a foundation arm, and this arm has projects to do with the tree planting and then this management exploration. So it is probably leverage on that opportunity, so maybe it can help to also come up with a way the bank can make money from now the credits that have been acquired from the two projects that are done, so they're done on last year. Two major projects.
Question 3 not answered.
Correct.
What are you saying we do exactly? Are you saying we do tree planting? What exactly?
You help the bank to do to be able to know how they can acquire credits from the land, from the tree planting and the mango restoration projects that they have. So that.
Thank you. Next. Why are you so serious now?
My specific takeaway from the forum is the need for more exploration in regards to managed aquifer recharge as a source of carbon markets. I think we've heard more about forests and energy, but there's little that has been covered in regards to anything to do with the water sector and specifically the groundwater sector. And my immediate action plan is to advise my team on exploring more on groundwater in carbon and climate finance. It's an area that we need to explore more. And the areas of exploration is on methodologies for quantifying avoided emissions, like reduced pumping emissions. I think we should focus on how we can reduce pumping emissions and how we can use that as a source of carbon markets.
Thank you.
Sector. Health.
Good evening, everyone. It's Paul Nyambo. My sector is a bit out of what we discussed in the construction and real estate sector. Now, doing good is good, but I think earning from doing good is better. So, sustainability in the construction sector is becoming the cash cow that it is. I believe that having conversations around carbon markets and all that is a priority for now. So first immediate action would be incentivizing or rather building the developers who make most decisions on development outside the regionals and banks, and making it understandable to them in the grandma language. We don't like technical people. What we lack is the capacity to explain that technical, MRVs and whatnot in a language that a developer was never such that a forum understands. So that's an immediate action that we take up. And work with this. And now, exploration and specific to fast carbon. For segmentation construction, we have tools that monitor energy consumption, embodied carbon in materials, as well as water usage and all that. So I think having a methodology or another way of, bringing this together in a quantifiable manner, that is a hereby regulated fast and reflective. And that would mean I was chatting with George yesterday. How do we then use alternative building materials such as biochar instead of cement and that sort? But that would take a mindset change for the developers. Because for now they see it as an inferior material. So that's the entire process. It's an elaboration aspect. Section of policy to where the money flows in terms of climate financing, infrastructure financing, and the quantifiable reporting now from past carbon.
We'd be happy to know that Building Society is actually working on review of the building codes to constating the estimate and also things to do with consider, for example, the color giving testament, the concrete. We capture the CO2, reduce that, or we reducing the amount of carbon, then we construct the cement concrete, which will come to your buildings. So you can act the methodology actually a year away. So the guys like you, I'm talking very good.
Thanks for the
Yes, good. Next.
So a key takeaway from me, which I'll take back to my industry, is the different use cases of AI. I think AI has been known for just one main reason, but I think there are many ways you can apply it, and especially because we work a lot with innovators, is a way we can advise them on how they can adopt AI, also going forward from experts on how they can leverage AI. My immediate action point, I'll take from what I've learned. I think is to map the rest of the EMRV technology. So if AI can be used in ABCD ways, how can IoT be used in different ways? How can we use satellite imagery for it? Just mapping the use cases. And I think to lead to the third question, which is the areas of exploration, I think it would be also useful to map the different stakeholders and what their roles are, because we might have all these use cases, yes, but what does, for example, mobile operator do in the whole picture? What does government do in the whole picture? Or trying to make it more digestible to the user so that it's easier for us to implement some of all of these things in learning in these workshops. So I think it would be good to consider that. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for me, the key takeaway was to learn about the NCR by NEMA. I think that was very welcome information. And I think also the other takeaway was on MRV process and what it requires, and learning that actually, for example, from carbon lens, that the data actually you can get free satellite data, which can reduce the cost. So for immediate action, because of that new information, I think there's a proposal we have at our desk for a tree planting project, and the team here given me the Mount Kenya to prepare and revise that proposal. So I've learned a lot, I've revised that proposal, and I'll also be reaching out to Vast Carbon and other colleagues who are here to revise that proposal and submit it to the clients, and they'll propose that process. I think the other area of exploration now going ahead was on can we work on a tree carbon stock too for Kenya, just as we've done from carbon lens. So that is a resource which is scalable. So anybody having a project can go into that tool and maybe put in their data or retrieve data from there instead of starting from scratch, so that it saves them on costs of project development and the headaches of accessing proper data and the time and cost that's involved. The other one is on e-mobility and the economic effects of e-mobility. I think there's some work we're interested in around that. For instance, can we be able to leverage carbon finance if we transition to e-mobility, so that we're able to fill the gap with carbon and lose road maintenance levy because of I think in China, they talked about, I think, a 5% reduction in the demand for fuel because of a 12% vehicle fleet now that is electric. So what will happen when we lose this revenue from road maintenance levy? I think how can we start thinking of how to collect this data, which is nationwide and has a significant political and socio-economic effects. The final one is on household solar. The people with household solar, for instance, for myself, the system shows me that I've forgone a certain number of tons of CO2 every day. So it's a grid type system. So how can households which have purchased solar systems benefit from that contribution to the reduction of CO2 or avoidance of CO2? Thank you very much.
The key takeaway was the carbon lens, and there was some very good insights in the presentation, particularly for the forest sector. It will be before. Exploration, the reason has to speak about this process relating to the data system. I'm still deciding my key takeaway. From my perspective, I think it's important of life when satellite data is free. That's really fun to do. So immediately as a result of EUTI, areas of exploration, I still I haven't really had it. I don't think that's enough. So that was really good data and it's a key now and up. So yeah. Opinion, and the details and everything. So we have 3 stories.
My key takeaway was like
in the whole group that is here, and even the ones that are online, even the lady that did our presentation, I feel we could come up with just one mega project that supports almost everything. From looking from the Kenya Space Agency, that they can be able to help us in mapping some of this data, especially if it's the biomass, for example. And we have groups here who are dealing in ARR projects. And us as people of Biota, we require some biomass. And at the same time, all of us coming from the same country and with the whole 15 billion tree target and the 125 million bamboo strategy in the next 10 years. I think it's doable because we have people who need to do their biomass. We need to offtake some of that biomass. We have people doing the mapping, and we have you as Vast Carbon to do development of a carbon project. And I feel there's synergies here. And then for those people that are off grid, we have people like GSMA who can be able to provide the connectivity in those areas so that no one is left behind.
Thank you, next.
My key takeaway was the data foundations, climate data foundations. I found that very interesting. I thought I knew about data, but back to basics, just the data value chain, collection, aggregation, you see decision rights, data boundaries. I mean, I found that very, very useful because of the fact that carbon projects are basically data projects. And there is a lot of focus on data protection in Kenya. And then my immediate action point is actually to go back to my organization because we have a lot of data and try to apply a structured way of how we collect and handle data and how, just to review how we use that data, we protect it. Then the areas of explorations. Is it possible to have a resource center for sector-specific data that is just easily accessible? A lot of people, there's a lot of data there, but the challenge is people don't know where to get that data. So the publicly available data may be resource. There needs to be open data, something Kenya. Maybe something similar where sector-specific data that is relevant for carbon projects can be aggregated, maybe under NEMA, even, where I can go click and maybe find soil maps for whatever, or agroecological stratification data for specific regions. Maybe that's a low-hanging fruit.
Hi. So
what's the time?
Let's start with me.
Yes.
I didn't even think about that. So for me, my specific takeaway from the 2-day workshop, it was quite interesting to see what the carbon market looks like in Kenya, because I do have understanding from it, but from a first world country perspective. So it was interesting to see how it looks like in Kenya. And then for me, my immediate action from this workshop, I think I'm going to read a bit more on how carbon markets can be embedded into the energy sector, since that's where my work line is. And then for specific areas that I think the organizers should consider, like actual projects, I think the first one is what I mentioned yesterday on coming up with a green emission factor. I think would be very helpful, especially for renewable energy projects and for also industrial projects as well. And then the second thing, I think you should consider working with the energy engineers because they have very similar workflows, because they also have professionals for measurement, they have professionals for auditing, and they also have professionals for verification. And a new trend that I saw when they're doing energy audits is they would usually quantify the carbon that is emitted, but I'm not sure if they actually. So I think it will be an interesting line to go to. So, and the energy efficiency group of people are very live and active and well, and they're very ready to learn. And then the last thing I think you should look into, because I've heard a lot about the biological carbon, but I haven't had much on, I'm a girl in STEM, so I do a lot of heavy science. I think it would be interesting to hear more about the direct air capture, what they're doing in Kenya. And I think a good thing to do at this stage is probably the same way you're making an inventory of you're calling the surface, what it was. Like the stuff is covered, I don't know, I've forgotten the name, it's disappeared, my bad. But basically like mapping out what's the legal first state mapping. Not stakeholder mapping, like the amount, the carbon stores, the carbon leases, the carbon sinks, thank you. I was going to be frustrated for a while. So the same way you're mapping out carbon sinks, I think you should also consider doing structural and stratigraphic mapping of Rift Valley to see I think that's like surface things. So I think that's probably going to be subsurface things like the potential for geological storage. I think that would be a good repository to have, especially because when developers want to develop the sequestration things, I don't think they would enjoy coming to do exploration. So I think just having that mapped out would be great. And then also because GIC is doing a lot of work in green hydrogen, I think it would be good if they also explored EDAC, that's electrochemical direct air capture. It's kind of the same concept. And I feel like for green hydrogen, no comments, but then for EDAC, because it's carbon capture, I think the benefits are going to be a bit more visible. So I think as they're looking at the science for the green hydrogen in Kenya, I think it would be good if they look into EDAC as well. Thanks.
My key takeaway today and yesterday was that really carbon projects and technology is the currency of any project. And what I understand is that I need to establish a digital place. So before I knew how to create a project, it was just a jargon, but this has made it clear. It's very easy, and that because we have the methodology, it guides us how to do it. I believe my next project would be in the park. What I find it very difficult as in the areas of exploration is I'm in the energy sector. I still find it difficult to connect IREX and what we have been doing today in this sector. So I would want to know how IREX certification from EPRA can be used in all these methodologies and how those carbon credits can be sold, so to say. When? Okay, I can't see you, yes. Oh, he's asking what IREX are. Those are.
International speakers, really one
So that and start from areas of exploration. So if you just go back to the picture written, second methodology. So you now have a registry. As opposed to making it just transactional, Kenya, let's do one step. So that you just go through the whole process of registering, going through the methodology and be done with it, rather than picking bits and pieces of. So just another tip, maybe not this methodologies for the different sectors. Key takeaway from my industry, which is agriculture majorly, is verification readiness. I really like Aaron was talking about a resource center might help to do that. Right now, there's scattered information all over, and I think we are churning out a lot of carbon projects from Kenya. So having this mapped out, I don't know where it is somewhere, but that would be really helpful. My immediate action, I liked the bit yesterday about the evidence hierarchy. Actually noticed we have a gap in my organization. We tend to reach up to level 3. So there's need to talk to people responsible so that now we try and improve level 4 and 5. So that's an immediate need that I feel is going to help us with that analysis.
Backbenchers.
So for me, my key takeaway would be on the mode of data collection, basically maybe from the environment where I am. The primary source of our data collection is by measurement, but at least from this session, maybe I've understood that there are different modes that we can use to collect data, of course, by interview and what have you, which basically I know now as we even, the title here was on carbon data intelligence. So basically, as we move to that aspect of intelligence, we need to have credibility in the data that we are collecting. And basically, that credibility really comes from having maybe devices that are able to collect those data. So basically, for me, the areas maybe of immediate, maybe actions or where to explore, basically mostly to understand and see if there are opportunities in that space of IoT devices. So basically, with IoT devices, you are able to get real-time data. So the reports that we would take maybe an year to maybe collect and make decision out of it, we can be able to do a real-time maybe reporting. Then basically the other aspect, understand. Yesterday we were told about the different, because just from the different sources of data, we have an aspect of interoperability of these devices. So basically, a case in point is, if I'm collecting data, I don't know whether there are any standard which really perhaps I think is if I can source a device, let's say from vendor A, maybe another person can source from vendor B. A device basically speaking different languages, having different protocols. So basically, my area of interest and exploration would be on standards development, interoperability, and protocols harmonization. So that even as we are developing these carbon platforms, we can have these IoTs from different vendors speaking to that carbon platform, a unified platform using standardized protocols. Thank you.
Thank you. Pauline. Yes, just a minute. Okay, next. What's next? Anything?
My second takeaway from the industry is that there's a lot that is very essential, especially when it comes to being a governance and policy conversations, and without it, a lot gets lost, and policies are made that don't even align with the work that's being done on the ground, or they don't even meet the needs that are being done on the ground. And
that information, especially like this, I'm a lawyer, yes, but there's so many terminologies I've learned in the past 2 days. Things that I never have interacted with, as much as people just say GIS, DMV, you know, you might say it very casually, but I don't engage in such words in my common day to day. And I had heard of this when people say lawyers should also understand the mathematics behind it. They should understand the science behind it. So just engaging with this is actually quite eye-opening. My immediate action is I share content on social media. It's called Dream Revolution. So I try to break down some of these complex concepts. So I've done that mainly from a legal perspective, but I would also want to do the same. So check out for that and share. And the specific areas of exploration. I think there's such a huge gap when it comes to county assembly in general, because these are people who are your MCAs, so the people who make the laws at the end of the day at the county level. So even by the time they get into the national level, that's when havoc comes, you know. So if you actually engage them more, they understand the people, they understand the community, they understand the resources that are there. So even being able to meet different needs in the carbon space, because carbon can be extracted in very many ways. It will now be clearly geared to a particular county and the needs that are there. And especially if you engage the county assemblies, they're the people who actually are on the ground doing some of these projects themselves. So if you showed them where they can benefit economically, I believe you'll be able to even have more participants, and also it will be easier for developers to engage communities, even making it more safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Listing content of the mama. Kindly share, post about this training, share your thoughts, tag Pastor Carbon, tag me, Lily. My key takeaway is that carbon accounting is not just it's not just a reporting exercise, it's a data governance. And it requires a lot of traceability, transparency, and also alignment. My immediate action point, I've realized that there's a lot of new data, as much as you said there is no data. So next time, if I say there is no data, I'll do my research. In terms of a specific area of exploration, I would say in Kenya, we really don't have a carbon accounting or sustainability training. In most cases, most of the carbon developers have to outsource the knowledge from other countries, or they are either self-taught or they do small courses online. Maybe we could push for a sustainability course that covers things to do carbon accounting to be integrated into our Kenyan system. So that the next generation doesn't have to go out there learning on their own. There is already a system in place for them.
Thank you. Questions? Key takeaway is a snippet from this demonstration. It's indeed carbon markets demands evidence, not data. In as much as they need the data, but evidence is of mass spectral university development. This stemmed from my understanding in the whole data value chain, because I come from an industry where the vice versa is true, in the sense that once we have the impact, now we trace back to data collection. The industry I'm referring to is restoration of mine lands. So we find that once the minerals have been depleted, now the efforts of restoring the land are initiated. Now they start to backtrack, come up with the solution using the data that we don't have. So to that effect, another takeaway tied to that is that with a need for proactiveness in data collection. Proactiveness, not anticipating or not waiting for things to happen when we start collecting. Probably my immediate action point is about sharing this information because in the mining sector, again, a huge percentage of the stakeholders are what we call the ASM, the artisanal small scale miners. So you can't expect like Margaret to understand the whole carbon marketing or the terminologies involved. In addition to that, now to the organization, just advocating for a shift from data collection, evidence-based documentation, and again, a shift from compliance to governance. Lastly, specific areas of exploration, there's a call to action to vast carbon and all stakeholders involved to work collaboratively with all the stakeholders involved in the mining sector to enhance and create more awareness about carbon and carbon data information. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening. For myself, I come from the engineering industry. The takeaway from yesterday is, first of all, is the fact that if data cannot be verified, then it's useless, cannot actually be used. So that was very important for me to realize, and then also the fact that data transparency and accuracy is very key for any data that somebody needs to use, specifically now in the e-mobility sector, when it comes to things like quantifying the CO2 emissions for electric mobility vehicles and assets generally, then it would be very important so that because that actually informs the impact of the of e-mobility in the country. When it comes to immediate action, a lot of people who are in the e-mobility industry, because it's a very nascent industry in Kenya, are usually a bit apprehensive about sharing data, especially when it comes to CO2 emissions and the like. And the reason is because they don't know who would use that to benefit from carbon credits and you can sell it. So it actually encourage their members of the association to be open about it so that even if it's locked somewhere based on who has shared what information, what are the CO2 emissions that they are getting, then the specific companies can be able to benefit and even the startup can be able to come up with a verification system that can help them how to benefit from carbon credits. And then, of course, point to you as Vice Carbon, the association is trying to come up with something called a e-mobility observatory. And this e-mobility observatory is supposed to collect data about e-mobility, and basically the number of EVs, the stations where charging stations are, when it comes to CO2 emissions, how are they emitting depending based on the number of EVs that are there. So it would be good to, if it is possible, to develop such kind of an observatory and see how that particular observatory can help the country be able to monitor emissions that actually emit when it comes to climate and everything that is in that. So,
thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Keep takeaway data is there, and data is responses. The technology can make decisions on mitigating the issues like for instance, the carbon market space. It's actually called transparent. I also understand that in as much as the information and that is, the information is not fast to be spread to the intended persons. For instance, you find that the people who are actually affected, but those who are directly impacted, most of them don't have the information. So, finding a way in the people who are impacted and get the first-hand information. I think that one is one question
an area of exploration and interest. For instance, let's say, how is that in principle to I visited Bangkok property, the part of where they do common sequestration. But we find that it was only the professionals who were actually tasked with every who are in the space of carbon sequestration or who have the know-how, the processes involved in carbon sequestration. So I think knowledge transfer to the people, the localized people, is a very unique case. Additionally, in terms of contextualization of capital, it's also another part to really need to explore. Another point is the capacity building and community engagement, also in data collection. This comes about from the discussion where every community shared that the data from other parameters such as the droughts were not, the data wasn't that available. But in reality the reality of things is that it hasn't been explored. So I think we can form a synergy whereby the entities that are involved in carbon sequestration and form a merger situation whereby they can share information freely so as to come up with informed decision in formulating policies when it comes to resource mobilization and finances management.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Martin. I would speak in reference to academia. I was thinking, I'll stick to areas of exploration. I was wondering if Fast Carbon would collaborate with universities to do some curriculum enrichment. Because I do understand the current curriculums, most of them, we don't have a lot about sustainability, carbon trading knowledge is not there. Or probably you could work with universities to develop a professional course where you deliver that. There's experts from the industry. The universities would probably help in organization of the students. If that could be an area of collaboration as well. I also think when you look at some universities, especially those outside Nairobi, the small ones which are growing, they are currently in their development phase, building more infrastructure and such. Is there a way you could offer technical support probably and align those development infrastructure in a manner that the university would probably benefit in the line of carbon credits? I think that would be a mutual benefit idea that the universities would be much welcome to explore. And also, part of capacity building, if you could as well work with the innovation clubs in the universities. I imagine when the university students actually understand what carbon trading is all about and the entire A to Z, and you also got to be part of the innovation clubs where they come and pitch their ideas. I believe that kind of knowledge would actually enrich their innovation acumen. So it could be a possibility to collaborate in such kind of programs, I think, in the academia and of course in research. That is even to test some of the ideas that could become potential projects, for carbon credit listing within the research institutions. Just my thoughts.
Thanks.
Because
Yes.
So yesterday, okay, that's number one. So yesterday you mentioned something about the communities having to consent before you collect the data. So I think to my industry, the key thing I will take back is we need more community training and safeguards to build on trust with the communities so that they actually understand what they're consenting to. So I'm more a policy person than a technical person, so that is what I saw. Then from what Gabriel spoke about today, I will personally explore how AI tools can improve climate data analysis and reporting. And then on number three, I think we need more case studies from African countries that are implementing carbon registries so that we can cross-boundary learning now. Yeah, so that we have that. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. It's another venture. Okay, something I forgot to propose, I think from the banking sector, I was wondering, I think I see some countries, I think in New Zealand, some part of Europe, I think back home here in Rwanda, they are having the discussion of the banks are mentoring their clients in a carbon credit project, and then they can use those carbon credits as potential collaterals for credits. That now goes against the present model of using the historical transactions to determine your credit worthiness. I was wondering if probably Vast Carbon would as well approach banking institutions to design something of that kind to advance more credit, especially to the SMEs.
Any other takers?
Good? Good? I think that wraps it up. Only left with closing. Because for both in-person attendees and virtual attendees, and it's going to be digital. I think you're all signed up in the register. It's going to be shared by email. Yes, if you haven't signed up in one of the registers, please make sure you see it at the very end there to help you with that. Number two, to share with you what's now missing is student psychology. Honestly, it's a sort of something points, better detail, and also presenting there what to do next. It's likely this in terms of sites or framing of sites in terms of which part of that conversation, let's keep on having the interpret until we find a different way of talking directly about sort of seeing some exemplars, so we should also be able to it's a common about it. But remember, for everyone, we have, of course, we will try to see how it might do things like Collateral is something that is, that some of us are working. We care to see tedious process, but at least we saw recently that became one of the government digital assets. Yeah, it's now being recognized. So we are not too far off, but as you know, it's about just preaching until everyone becomes part of the world. These things are things that are practical, very, very possible. Okay, that's what you've done. So that's report things and also what can we do next across the so then those persons we start the journey. That is how methodologies are developed. I call it here. Those who want to jump on board, when things are done, you of course get the street script, right? Right? Yes. So that one we will definitely share. Maybe to close this fast before I invite Rose to give us something. Vote of thanks. That's any other ideas. I think all have seen Pastor from here, but yeah, you know Lavington. Yes, we do a lot of things here in Kenya, helping our dear beloved in schools, so cooking and the carbon projects. We also some in Uganda and elsewhere. We can talk more. You can also find us. But behind that, of course, a huge team from the back there. Microphone equipment. I think I've been seeing guys supporting. All the personnel you're seeing right now here are part of the carbon project developments. Part of us are some of the developers, and of course, there's a communications team. But I'll let them introduce themselves. Please go ahead.
I'm
Hi, my name is Ivy. I work with Vast Carbon as the project manager. I also support few projects in ESIA. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your participation and your availability.
What should not say is that the next 10 days should be someone in remote northern Uganda doing ESIA, but thank you. Next week, that is actually.
Good evening. My name is Rafon Faiz. I'm an information design specialist at Vast Carbon. Yeah, thank you for your attendance and cooperation. Thank you.
She also took up the challenge to become our next crop of engineers. But thank you for saying it.
Good evening, guys. My name is Brian. I am part of the digital marketing at Vast Carbon. The main program of Peter. So if you want them, you can contact Lily here. And this has been a learning experience. Thank you.
You know something? If the most knowledgeable people in the planet are those people, because they attend all conferences invited or otherwise, and they learn everything. So they're the most knowledgeable, right? Who's Moses?
Hi everyone. So I was also part of the team, also part of the training. But yeah, my name is Kevin. I think I'm very new to Vast as day 3 to me, so I'm first time here. But happy to join you. We should be engaging with most of you as you go forward. I'm mostly in a full project. Happy to have met most of you.
We have a habit of making sure new recruits learn well planning. It starts when you're just running. It's part of something we do to just make sure we get guys applicants, but things is going to be helping a lot of the follow projects. Some will be announced later in the course of the month. Yes.
How are you? I am Moses Ochin. I work at VAST as a carbon market associate. I support energy project. For example, biochar, clean cooking, so many of them. I'm just an energy specialist and a mechanical engineer by profession.
It's not just an energy profession. We're all building our 200,000 devices e-cooking projects in the country. That's not just. That's a big, big just.
And last but not least, I'm George Kibuku, and I'm not teaching. I am an engineer and data, quote unquote. People ask me if I'm a data scientist. No, I just have an eye for detail. But other than that, I work for VAST. I'm mostly within the energy space. I also double back also within the environmental space, doing SES, so on and so forth. But other than that, thank you for coming. Sante sana. And also for the cooperation, the facilitation. The exercises were done very, very well. So also thank you for that. Online team, they came out in droves. So again, also thank you for that.
What he has not mentioned is we were asked by the government of Uganda using the program for activities for institutional household clean cooking projects for both private sector and public sector. It's the one who was leading the particular project. Last but not least, I'm Charles Soil, I talk about projects. I lead the carbon projects team. We do a lot of these things, the end-to-end development, advisory services, a lot of capacity building. The last one on innovation and emerging technology is led by Ian Mutai, who is the brains behind the Kenya National Carbon Registry. That said, asanteni sana for indulging us over the last 2 rainy days. We hope to see you in sunny days. Other than that, Rose, karibu.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you so much for attending. I think the attendance was so great. When you said we didn't know the appetite that there was for climate or carbon data work, but right now with the numbers, at least there is grounds for the work to continue. So thank you so much, and thank you to the VAST Carbon team. They've done an amazing work. A round of applause, please, for the VAST Carbon team. Yes, shout out to Charles, George, Rahman, Irene. Those are the people we were really working day and night to make sure this is a success. And as you heard, they were also the team launching the Kenya National Carbon Registry, and all these projects were really back to back. So thank you so much for the coordination. And of course, others, which Ian, who was also not here, but we work very closely, and also piloting the project, but also to the other members that have just learned, Kevin, Moses, and Ryan. Thank you so much for the work that you've done. It has been amazing because as you see, we are all from different diverse backgrounds, students, people who are in the professional sector, public and private, but somehow the content that was here makes sense for everybody. So that is something that we take. Let's continue connecting, keep in touch in case you have any other feedback that you'd like us to capture. There is also the feedback forms, but also we'll be keeping in touch and keeping you in the loop of the activities, because of importance for every project is that your voices get to be heard and you get to be the team behind, pioneering most of the projects. And we don't want this to be a one-off, but to be a practice more so. And also, as it was said, like this is now a TOT group where you get to be the trainers of trainers, I guess. Yes. And also, last but not least, we thank Esther, which is Estonian Development Corporation, who are here, and they're the ones who are funding this. And we did it in collaboration with GIZ. And it's under the Team Europe Action, which is under the Data Governance in Africa. So it's a whole team, a whole initiative behind promoting and championing these conversations. So happy to be in touch if there's any synergies you see in the room, if there's anything of relevance to what you do that you can support, happy to do that. But otherwise, thank you so much for attending and for being very active, and looking forward to connecting even more. Thank you.
Yes, with that we close this training.
No.